Well, hello, everyone. I hope y'all are having an awesome Friday. We are so excited that you are here because I have a very special guest I'm about to introduce to you. Her name is Dr.Dawn Hamby, and she is going to give you so much excitement and strategies for starting and building your business dream. You're going to get to hear her story about how she started dreaming of starting her business and then how she actually made it happen. She started it on the side of her very successful and awesome career that she already had. And then she retired from that career and is now a full-time entrepreneur. This is just going to be so much fun for you to hear. I wanted to give a shout out real quick to Shonda from Indiana, Jennifer from Little Rock, Alicia from Huntington Beach. And we're just so happy that y'all are here because there's so much to learn from other women, especially who have been balancing all the craziness of their lives, whether it be jobs, parenting, helping take care of elderly parents. It could be anything that you're doing. You have to realize today what is possible for you. Dr. Dawn Hamby, I'm about to bring you on, sister. Get ready. Yay, Dawn. We are so happy that you are here. How awesome is this? Y'all may know Dawn, by the way. She was on my podcast, the She's Just Getting Started podcast, episode 122. And we had talked about all of this before her podcast, before her book. And so now here we are a couple years later, and you can see the progression. And this is to show you all what is possible. Dawn, I am so excited that you are here. I'm so happy to have you. This is going to be so much fun. And I just take it away. We just love to hear about you so that everyone knows who you are. And then we can dig into all the exciting stuff and strategies that others can use too.
Thank you, Kimberly.
You're very welcome.
Y'all, you cannot have a bad day, a bad live stream, a bad video, podcast, you name it, if you're with Kimberly Brock. I mean, the music alone, before she brought me on, I was literally dancing a little bit of a jig because is that not the happiest music ever? And it is full circle for me. Kimberly knows I say this all the time, but it really was full circle because when I met Kimberly, what has it been now? 2.5 years ago, Kimberly now, I was in the very beginning stages of writing the book and starting my own podcast. You guys, I loved my daytime job. Yeah, thank you. She's got her whoop, whoop, whoop. That's right.
Oh, and it's signed by you, by the way, which is so sweet.
Absolutely. You guys, I had the privilege of meeting this beautiful woman in person because I was in Houston for business. And you think I wasn't going to reach out to her and say, let me sign this book. I love you so much. Thank you for all you do for women. So it was great. But Kimberly, believe it or not, actually helped me. In fact, so did her group of amazing women who are part of our audience today, because I was totally at the beginning stages of even writing the book, you guys. I wasn't sure what book title to come up with. And Kimberly always encourages her folks to reach out to other professionals, get their opinion. So I did some polling and right, Kimberly, half the people wanted one title. The other half wanted this other title. So like at 3 a.m. or something, I just wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could combine it all and it will become the Career Woman's Secret Playbook. Now, instead of emailing her or texting her at 3 a.m, I wasn't going to do this at all to her, right? I wasn't going to wake her up at that hour, but I sent her an email, I think that very morning at a more reasonable time. And I said, that's it. That's the name. From there, I already had the book written. I just wasn't sure about the title. Then I got help from Kimberly on how to start my podcast. I really didn't know those steps. And see, you guys, I wanted to start a business, but I didn't really know what it would look like, what I for sure wanted to do, because I'm one of those rare gals who loved what she was doing, right, Kimberly? I loved what I was doing. I just knew I was getting to the point that I was ready for some new challenges. I was ready to take that leap of faith. And I always say, betting on yourself is never wrong. And I got to the point where I was like, I need some help. I need to reach out. I need to figure out my next steps. And when I came across her podcast, as I'm getting ready for that day job, and I heard at the very end where she talks about, oh, our journey doesn't have to end here. She talked about having clients. I was like, what? This woman is still accepting clients? I need to check this out.
Oh,
So the
that's so
rest
sweet.
is history. It's so
Yes.
true, Kimberly. I give you credit for that because
So
I
sweet.
knew I wanted to do it, but you guys, it's so much less scary when you just have a support of people who've been there and done that. And between her 16-step checklist, which, by the way, Kimberly, I just sent to my daughter because she's working for the
Good.
company now, but she would love to start her own side business. So I'm a planner. And if the ladies on here are like me at all, they probably know that sometimes planning can just give you the confidence you need to
Yeah.
take the next step, right, Kimberly?
It's so true. And I think it would be interesting too with that to share what your career was, because I have a feeling that even some that are watching are in the same field as you were before you retired too. So share what kind of career you had. And spoiler alert, it was in education, but you can go deeper into that because I think that will relate to a lot. And then how you went from that point of having your career to saying, okay, I am going to take this step and start on the side of that.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question. I had the privilege of starting off as a school teacher. I taught high school for many years, loved everything about helping young people before they go out either to college or out into the workforce. Loved my job. After 17 years, I got to the point where, again, I kind of get to a part in my life where I know, call it a God thing, call it the universe. There's always like something that's telling me it's time to pivot. So
Yes.
when I got to that 15, 16-year mark, I realized I wanted to learn more about the business side of education. And so I ended up having the privilege of working for the Department of Education and later the Department of Career Education. And you guys, I when I take a job, it's never for a year or two. I go ahead and take that job and I'm there for another 14 years
Yes.
because again, I loved it and I loved learning about how to really affect change in policy. And then I had the privilege of supervising teachers, supervising staff. Now, here's the irony. The further and further I went in my career, the more I got promoted. I loved the opportunities, but I got further away from what we're doing right now, where I can
Mm,
talk to people more one on one. And yes, I was doing workshops and presentations, which I love. That's a big part of my business. But my workshops and presentations were always more based on, explaining a policy, explaining grant funding, and it just wasn't as joyful as it was in terms of creating content and creating tips and tricks that I thought could really help people. So
right.
I rose through the ranks. I then went on to become the director of apprenticeship for the beautiful state I live in, Arkansas. And
Awesome.
so I got very passionate about helping people find amazing careers and different avenues to explore those. And as a result of that, I ended up with the Arkansas Department of Commerce. So I had the privilege of being there for another 3 years. So at this point, guys, as you do the math, I'm getting at the 30-year mark at that point. Well,
Wow.
I had started this business about 3 years ago. That's when I started the book. I knew I had a calling to write. I have a double doctorate, so I obviously love school. And I love
Yes.
everything about research and writing. Well, I I knew I wanted to do something on the side because again, I loved my career, but also I was going through a lot of changes. I had met the love of my life at the age of 48. I was a single mom for 14 years before meeting him. My daughter's father and I get along great now, right? But now we're really
Yes.
great friends and support each other. So I was going through a lot of changes. I wanted to be the best mom, the best daughter to my parents, sister, friend, and all of that. So for me, starting something on the side is what felt right for me
Mm.
because
Hmm.
I didn't want to take on so much. I
Right.
wanted to bring my A game to my personal life and my professional one.
I love
So
that. Wow.
right, Kimberly, because
Hmm.
sometimes I think women, especially, when you're a business owner, or even starting to think about being a business owner, they may forget that a lot of people are like me and start on the side. They don't
Yes.
just throw caution to the wind,
Yes.
and you know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And
I
I
agree.
needed that. Yeah.
Everyone listening, this is a really good point from Dawn. Dr. Dawn, that's there's no shame in the game of starting on the side. In fact, it's what I recommend to almost every single one of my clients because I think it mitigates the risk. It mitigates this whole the pressure that you feel like, oh, I've got to have a bazillion-dollar business tomorrow and I've got to be able to now float all this money. You can start it on the side in any fashion you want, whether it's on the weekends, at night, whatever. So then my question to you is, how did you deal with the timing of it? You've got this busy career. How did you do it on the weekends? Did you do it late at
Yeah,
night? Like, how did you
yeah.
do it?
I became a real master at time management because that was so important to me. In other words, I know sometimes when ladies are thinking about, oh my gosh, I don't even have the time now to get everything
Yeah.
done I
Yeah.
need to do. Well, let me tell you one thing that changed for me. I started to think of time differently. I have a whole chapter about this in the book. There's experts that have written whole books about this one idea alone, and that is stop thinking about your day as a 24-hour day. Think of it as a 168-hour week. Because when you think of 24 hours times 7 and you see how much time we all have for our careers, for sleep, for preparing meals, picking up kids from school, things like that. If you're thinking about it in those 24-hour blocks, you get so discouraged before you even start thinking of adding anything to your plate, number
Right.
one.
Right.
Number two, if you picture a 168-hour week, even when you take out, say, the 70, 40, whatever hours you may be working, when you take that out every single day, right? When you take out that 40-hour work week, you take out the amount of hours we all should be getting for sleep, you take out the amount of hours you think you're spending preparing meals or running errands, things like that. On average, do you know you still usually have anywhere from 60 to 72 hours left per week? When I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, if you have 72 hours, add 8 hours to that, and you have almost 2 full weeks of extra time.
I didn't
So
even
that
think
got
about
me
that. Wow.
excited. Like it
Right.
didn't seem like a chore anymore, Kimberly. It
Right.
seemed like an exciting passion project. And so I just got really smart about my time. I would listen to books on tape or podcasts while I was commuting in the car, while I was emptying the dishwasher. It gave me lots of ideas for my business.
That's good.
And
Those are good
I took
tips. Yep.
2 full year Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah. I mean, who needs to do all that at the
Yeah, I know.
right off the bat? And
Right.
and then I gave myself the grace to take all the time I needed because, again, if maybe it would be different if I was miserable at my job. But I was like, I'm not going to put pressure on myself to hit certain milestones. What I will do is say, within the next 3 months, here's my goal. And then 3 months after that, here's my next goal. So I broke it down into very manageable steps. And then I worked nights and weekends, but I would put a timer on myself. I really
Yeah.
did because
Yeah, I think that's smart.
I had to recharge.
Yep.
I love Netflix. My husband and I have all these shows we want to watch. So we got to have time for our shows,
You
people.
got to make time, personal time. That's right. And real quick, I don't mean to interrupt. Someone is saying that
Yeah.
there's an echo, and there is a slight echo on your microphone. It does have a slight feedback
Oh,
echo. I was just going to tell you that.
interesting.
Someone put
Okay,
it in the
maybe I'll
chat, so
cut back
thank
a little
you.
bit. Yeah.
Let me see. We're going to test it. Is it an echo for everyone that's listening?
Do you think it's just
It's
because
got feedback on the mic. I don't know why. It's so weird. I don't hear it here, but I hear it on YouTube.
Oh, well, do you think maybe that's what we're hearing is playing it on the phone? Because I can't
No.
hear it on my end.
I know. I don't
I
either. I'd
recommend
love
it
to
off
know
YouTube.
if anyone else has an echo. I could hear a little bit of an echo on my phone, but
Okay.
hopefully it's okay. I haven't seen anyone else say it, but we'll see. So, oh, yes to the echo. I guess they're saying yes. I don't know if your mic. We
Okay.
could.
I turned off YouTube on my end. I got
Yes.
off the channel.
It's like
So,
maybe turn it on your phone. Maybe you'll be able to hear what we're saying just really quick. Thank y'all so much. So, like, if on
yeah.
your phone, maybe up the sound a little bit and you'll hear that it has a little bit of feedback. So, I don't know if it's your microphone. Do you have another microphone by chance?
I do. Hang on a second, you guys.
Okay, let's
Let's
check.
just do that.
Everybody get a drink. We're just gonna check. There is a slight like feedback I should put the music on. I should
Just put the music on. I'll get the other microphone. And if worse
let me
comes
see
to
if
worse,
I
I can
can pull it.
unplug.
I'll have to see if I can pull the music on. Thank y'all so
Okay.
much for telling. It only echoes when Dr. Dawn speaks. So it may be your microphone. It's not that bad, people are saying. So we may be able to continue as is. But if you have another microphone, great. We can test it. Otherwise, we will move on because it's so important
And
to
I
hear
do. This
all
is the
her
one I
whole.
usually use for the podcast, so maybe I'm just not used to the
We
new
need.
system we're using, but
Could my
we're going to
speakers
do
be
this one,
picking up Dawn's
everybody. And
voice?
if this doesn't work, worst comes to
Yeah, let
worst,
me see.
I'll just unplug and use the
I don't
laptop
know.
microphone,
I
which
don't
may not be
think
as
it's
good,
the.
but it just,
Yeah, we'll just see. Yeah, that's true. You could always just use the laptop microphone. Don't we love? Okay, Shonda said she's fine with it. Yeah, Bud Crud. That is.
oh, Bud
Oh,
Crud. That's my brother-in-law. Oh my, is that the best name ever? He is hysterical. I love
so
him
we
so much.
appreciate it. It could be me picking up, but I honestly don't think it is because my microphone would have the sound as well. But I don't know. It's not that it's picking up my sound, it's that it almost had like this echoey thing to it. We're moving, people. Don't worry. I know it's Friday and we're all. Did that help? Maybe that's what it was. Dawn, maybe talk a little bit. Let's see how. Maybe that was it. Maybe you were right. Maybe Bud Crud has all the answers to. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Okay, give us a few more seconds and then we'll just go back with it. Maybe that helped. Maybe he was right and he's the problem solver that just a tiny bit of volume on my end. Who knows? I hadn't had this problem before. Can't hear you. If not, you can go back to the other one. We may be just fine to continue. Thank y'all so much for your patience. Maybe just try plugging it back in. We may be okay. Bud Crud knew the solution.
What if I don't
Yes.
use the microphone at all?
Maybe just turn it
Can
up.
you
And
hear
we'll
me
see.
now?
Maybe it was better with your microphone. Everybody get a
Okay.
drink.
Is that any better?
No, I think maybe just go back to your original one. I turned my speaker down to see if that was causing any of the
Okay.
problem. And we'll just try that and then we'll get back to it. I loved your tips though about like, while you were working, when you were doing the dishes, when you were doing other things. I mean, everyone's got to think about if you actually are serious about starting a business on the side of a full-time or a part-time career, that you are going to have to get really clever with your time. And so it may mean doing two things at once, which means driving and listening to podcasts and learning, or
Right.
reading at night, or doing things like that. So I think those were all great tips for how you did it. I just still don't know how everyone does this. It's so amazing because I think back when I started my business, I worked at Dell Computers. I was in sales. I was a sales manager and I had a baby and I was starting this business. So I don't know, maybe that's just because I was young that I was able to do that. But I think somehow when we're older, like now I'm like, I would never do all of that at the same time. Okay, they said it's better and it's gone. Okay, we're all good. We figured it out. Bud Crud came in clutch and
This
helped
is what's
us.
fun about a live stream. Y'all get to see the behind the scenes. And the irony is both of these microphones are the same. Kimberly, it's the one you recommended to me forever ago.
Yes.
So we know this is
It
a
may
really
have
good
been me.
brand.
It's not you, it's me. I think that's what happened. It's
No,
not you,
you're-
it's me. And I'm telling the truth. No.
You're too kind. It's probably me.
Usually when we hear that, it's like gaslighting somebody, but I'm not gaslighting you. It might have actually been my speaker and I had no idea that this could happen. So anyways, we're all good. We're moving. So you start your business, you start with your really smart time management. You're going
Yes.
through the checklist of all the plans of everything you need to be doing.
Yes.
And then what? So you start doing it. You're still working. Are you still kind of getting a little disenchanted with your career? Maybe just not feeling it as much? Is that
Yes,
where you're at?
disenchanted is a great way to say it. I
Okay.
realized that I was losing some joy for the work. I was the kind of person who would get to the office early because I love everything about a Monday. I'm somebody who has
Me
a
too.
whole section of YouTube videos
I
called
love
A Happy
Mondays.
Monday. Yeah, I I love a Monday. Nobody loves a Monday but me. My
Nobody. Nope.
brother-in-law, Bud Crud, can say, yes, she is the cheesiest person in
I
the world,
love
and she loves a
Mondays.
Monday.
Let's
This
announce
is why
it.
you and I get along so well. But I was like, Kimberly, seriously, I was like, okay, I love a Friday too. Who doesn't love a Friday?
I
But I
know. We love
absolutely
today.
loved everything about working. I love going to the office. I'm the kind of person who loves to dress up and just go to that business meeting. Like, I loved all that, but I was
Right.
losing some joy for what
Okay.
my role was. And
Right.
ironically, again, the higher up I went, the less I felt like I got to do some of the things I had done previously when I was teaching and mentoring and things like that, and coaching and consulting, which is what I do now.
Right.
um, is very much like being a teacher, except you're a teacher basically for business folks.
Right.
And it's been wonderful. But I became a master of time management, but gave myself a lot of forgiveness, a lot of patience. I When I talked about setting the timer, Kimberly, I think something that's important is people, again, they do try to multitask, and I do enjoy doing that. Like I said, listening to something while I'm emptying the dishwasher. I want to do that because I don't find emptying the dishwasher all that exciting. With that said, if it's something, I don't recommend multitasking all the time because you could actually lose your focus and concentration. So I liked playing double duty when it was something that was kind of tedious, that didn't really require my concentration. But when I was writing the book, or if I was coming up with a workshop that I could do on the side for a client or a company, then I would set that timer, even if it was just for 45 minutes a day. I would carve out that time, and I would put on a little music. I love those like campfire beach sounds, things like that, something that's soft and doesn't distract me. And I would really concentrate. Your audience is probably not going to be surprised when I say, if you gave yourself even 30 minutes of pure concentrated time, you would get so much more done with less stress because you're not
That is true.
constantly getting bombarded. So when I work, I turn off the email ping on my computer. I put my phone on silent. I let all of my
Mm.
family know if it's something serious,
Yep.
you guys, I'm going to be unavailable from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then that's it. And it felt
Right.
more like self-care time than
Right.
work, doing all
That's
those
a
things.
really good perspective. I hope everyone is taking notes. I think that's a really good perspective, that even though we are multitasking other times of day, we do have to set those moments where we're like, everything's off. And I love that the picture of that, of like manually turning everything off
Mhm.
and concentrating for 30 minutes. So if you're trying to start a business on the side, these are just some tips for you, because you are, you have no time. You have no time. So the time that you are actually spending on this business needs to be very concentrated and fruitful, the times that you're doing, and productive. So, okay, so you're doing that. You start taking the steps. Is this when you eventually reached out to me and then we kind of started, and then after that you were off and running?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I knew I needed help, and that's
Okay.
definitely advice I would give to everybody. You
Okay.
guys, I'm not saying that just because, like Kimberly, I offer coaching. Of course, mine's in a different area. I'm
Right.
saying that because when you hire professionals, it's like, I'll give my myself and my husband Mark an example. Use us as an example. We understand that we're pretty darn smart in lots of different ways, but one way that we are not is fixing our own plumbing, fixing anything, to be honest. If we tried to tackle that, nobody would fault us for
Right.
hiring a professional, hiring a
Right.
plumber.
There's
So
no shame in
why
hiring a plumber or getting someone to, yeah.
no!
Yeah.
An electrician? Don't even get me started. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
taking that
No.
ch okay? So, in other words, I don't know why we, as future business owners, put all this pressure on ourselves to say, "Oh, if I can't do it all, what's wrong with me?" And they don't ask for help. I understand trying to be budget conscious. I understand that because you do want to be careful with your budget. And Kimberly
Right.
always has lots of great tips on ways to do things where you're kind of dipping your toe in. You're not just jumping in all at once. So, yeah, I took the time to do some things by myself. I designed my first website. I created my YouTube channel. I didn't hire anybody for that. I wrote my book without hiring any kind of consultant for that. So there were lots of things I did. But then when it came to, okay, how am I actually going to put all this together? And then the podcast world, I was like, well, I need to reach out to someone whose business I kind of get and I really like and I admire. It's kind of my vibe. So I would really encourage the audience, reach out to folks like Kimberly. If you're thinking about starting a business, kind of connect with people whose personalities, she and I joke all the time, we were separated at birth kind of thing. Well, you know why I say that to her? Because just like with clients I coach, you have to have sort of that connection or else it's just not a
Yeah.
good fit. And there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody wants a coach who's very kind of like, or very, very dry sense of humor, kind of
Right.
strict, listen, I get that. I find those kind of people personally very, very funny. But if I'm struggling with something, I might need someone a little more high energy and very positive. And
Mhm.
that's Kimberly. So I knew she and I would be a great fit. And then I tell my clients, hey, if you don't want someone who just like is going to
Yeah,
be
who
a
loves
little
Mondays.
full, yes, is going to have a lot of joy in her life and maybe a little on the cheesy side, I'm probably not the coach for you. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and that's okay.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's okay. And I think I love to, and I'm sure you do this as a coach too. Like I give everybody permission to
yes,
make their own decision for themselves. The point is, get some help. It's us,
yeah,
for your line of business. It's not to hire us necessarily. It's to
right.
say that there's no shame in getting help. We don't have shame in hiring a plumber or whatever. But let's not put shame in the game, even though we are trying to be cost conscious. Sometimes you can spend money to save yourself so much more time, energy,
Yeah,
money, angst that it well makes up for it. So you have to do that. So, anyways, you reached out to me. We started with your podcast. Is that right?
that's
Because you
right.
already kind of had your business and we were working on your podcast.
That's right.
And tell us about your podcast real quick. It's the same name as your book, right?
Yeah, I wanted it to be easy peasy
Mhm,
because
mhm,
for me, even though I work with men and women both through my workshops and coaching, I just had this calling to write this first book just for women. So when the book came out, I wanted to continue that conversation through the
mm,
podcast. So the
awesome.
podcast with the same name, and we're on
Yes,
Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. We
yes,
try to put out new episodes on Monday, going back to trying to give you a little
yeah.
motivation for Monday. And we're up to 53 episodes now.
That's
So we're
awesome.
getting some
Congratulations. I have a
traction.
little
Oh, we're so excited. Yes.
little horn. I don't know, party noise. Can I do that? See, a little party noise. But yeah,
Love
that's
it.
what's so neat. And I love that theory and that intention behind it is that you write the book. So for everyone listening, you are always trying to have continuity in your business from the things that you're doing. So you can have like a multi-prong approach to how you reach people. Some people may want to read books. Some people love podcasts. Some people like to consume both. Some people like to watch YouTube. So, there could be different. You could be a writer and you have a blog, or you're really good on Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever, but the continuity is key. And I love that you said that, and I hope everyone heard that you wrote the book and you said I wanted to continue the conversation and I wanted to not leave people hanging basically and have the podcast. So that was great, and you got your podcast kick started. We've got the name all straight, and you did that. You're off and running. So then you get your podcast, but you're still working. Is that right?
Mhm.
So everyone hear
Still
this.
working. That's
She's
right.
written a book. She has
Yep.
started her business. Are you seeing clients at that
Yes.
time? Yes,
I was seeing
seeing
one-on-one
clients.
coaching clients because we do a lot of coaching, Kimberly, and I just did that on the side. And guess what? My coaching clients, they can't meet me in the middle of the day
Right,
anyway. So I would
right,
meet them in the morning or on my
right,
lunch hour or after work.
right.
And so, yes, I was helping people with resumes, preparing for their promotion. So all of that I did for another, I would say, almost 2 years
Wow.
on the side
Okay, two
after the book
years.
came out.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone listening, whatever your job is, don't think you have to quit right now. You don't.
Yes.
You can float the money, you can work out the kinks, you now have money to hire a coach to save you even more time and money and give you strategies that set you up for years of success, right? And so that is amazing to know that you were doing all of that. You're proof that you can do all of that. And you get your podcast up, your business going, you're about 2 years in, and then what starts happening? Are you seeing things change in your job, or is it the same position, or what's going on that then you're like, you know what, this is my moment?
It was ironically my last promotion. Like I said, the higher up I went, the further I was away from some of the things I really loved doing.
Oh, that's
So I didn't
interesting.
get to
Right.
do workshops as often. I started, although I felt very privileged to have a voice to give my perspective after 30 years of being in the business of education and management and training, I had supervised staff. As I had staff as small as three, and I always say as small as three and as big as 300, because I was responsible for hundreds of people in some of my positions, had direct reports that were responsible for their own people. So it was big jobs that I thoroughly loved. But my
Right.
last promotion really kind of put me in a position where, although I loved it and loved the people I was working with, I just didn't feel like I was making the same kind of impact that I could with my own business. And so
Right.
at that point, I'm coming up on 31 years of service. Um,
Congrats.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And with anyway, in Arkansas teacher retirement, you could actually retire with full benefits at the 25th year.
Mm,
I knew that, but I knew there would be, advantages to staying in a little bit longer. And I think I mentioned earlier, I'm a planner. I become very passionate and enthusiastic if I have a plan. It doesn't have to be
right.
perfect. I gave up being a perfectionist a long time ago. Progress, not perfection, right, folks?
Yes.
But what I do believe is it's not being a perfectionist if you're just trying to create a successful way to exit. So I
Mm,
wanted to have all my ducks in the row. I wanted to make sure, since I was, and oh, Kimberly, you'll enjoy this. I wanted everybody to know I was taking, quote, early retirement because I did. Listen, I'm proud to say that I'm getting ready to be 58 on
you
October
go,
3rd,
girl.
which ironically is one of the workshops I'll be telling you about later. But yeah, right. So Kimberly, I don't mind saying I'm 58. Yeah, you're so cute.
You
I
don't like
love
my
that.
sound effects? Okay, go
I
ahead.
love the sound effects, but I was going to be very upset if people thought I was 65. Because right when
Right.
you say retire, people
Right.
think nothing
Right.
wrong with being 65. But that's why I was like, okay, at this time I was 55. I was like, I'm turning 55. I'm 30, going to be 31 years of service. Let me check. Can I leave now and have a little income coming in? Is it going to mess up my insurance, social security, or what's going to
Right.
happen?
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right. Right.
wanted the time to talk to all the powers that be.
Right.
So whether you are in education and have the privilege in your state of getting a pension check, right? That's kind of a dying art. Not a lot of people have that, but you might have something else that would allow you to have the security, a
Yes.
little security
Yes.
blanket of having some regular income come in. Because
Yes.
if you do what I did and you leave before you're 65, then it's not like you can start drawing Social Security or anything like that. So
Right.
I didn't want the added pressure of
Right.
having to have clients lined up. I didn't want to have to worry about the pipeline right off the gate, right? So for me, that's a bit of advice as well. Give yourself the grace and the patience to figure out, without letting fear drive the bus, but to figure out, okay, let's put this all on paper. What are we looking at here? If I
Right.
give another 2 or 3 years, is there really that much of a financial difference? Maybe yes, maybe no. But if the answer is
Right.
maybe not too much of a difference, think about the joy you would have if you're really wanting to work on this full time. When I started to realize how much fun, like my husband's the one who he caught me smiling from ear to ear when he was
Oh.
driving us to visit my family. They lived 2 hours away. Every time I was in the car, Kimberly, for 2 hours, I would whip out that laptop because again, it's on the weekends, it's after work. So he would drive the 2 hours to where they live, and I would get on my laptop, use
Yeah.
my hotspot, and I was working. So he looks over and he says, "Oh my gosh, every time you're on that laptop and you're working on Shop Talk, you're just smiling ear to ear." He goes,
Mm.
"Honey, I think it's time." I said, "You know
Oh, I
what?
love
I
that.
think it's time."
It is such a
Yeah,
litmus test. The you
yeah.
can tell the joy that your business brings you, but I think we can all tell that you're having free moments where you could be listening to music, you could be doing anything else, and
Mhm,
all you want to
mhm.
do is work. And that's what I always say
Yes.
too is that your business, what's so awesome about it has the ability to bring you so much joy that it never feels like work. And I just
Exactly.
think there's such a special gift to that. And I think being able to start on the side and have that outlet, and then figure out, when someone calls you out, like your husband, and says it's time, that's got to feel so good. And you are so blessed to have a spouse that is so supportive, because I will say
Yes. Yes.
that there's a lot that I work with that say I'm not necessarily getting supported by my family, and
Right.
that
Right.
honestly just breaks my heart, because I've been so fortunate. My husband is super 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 supportive, and my family, kids, and everything, and so that's made the journey easier. But for those of you out there that are watching that don't have the support, but you still want to pursue this, I would keep pursuing it, but also express to those that you love how much joy this brings you. And I think once they start seeing that in you, maybe their hearts will be softened and realize, gosh, this really is her calling. She's not just doing this
Yes.
to take away time from the family or any of that. She's actually doing this because it fills her soul. It fills
Yes.
her, it gives her fulfillment and joy. And so I love that. I love that moment. So that is a pinnacle moment in your story, that your husband is
Yes.
saying it's time. And so what did that mean? When he said it's time, what did that do for you, and what did that mean?
Well, it just gave me just that extra boost of confidence of knowing I was on the right track, right? There's a famous Will Rogers quote, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it says something like, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just stay there. So, in
Mm,
other words, I
I love
felt like
that.
I had been on the
I
right
love
track
that.
on my career the whole time. Education to me, and for many former teachers or current teachers out there, it really is a calling. So I already felt so blessed to be in the business of helping people for 30 years, but I could feel that it was time to get off that track and go in another direction.
Okay.
Now, were we nervous? Of course. My husband's the first to say, "Ah,
Right.
what did I say? What did I
Yes.
mean?" Because
In
it's
that moment, why
nerve-wracking.
did I
You're
say
in
that?
that moment. Yeah. I take it back, Dawn. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Yeah,
Okay.
you
So
weren't that happy after all. You didn't look that joyful.
yeah, exactly. But I totally get it, right? Because Kimberly, like you said, we're both very lucky. We have a lot of support.
Right.
But even with all the support I had, my family and friends are probably like a lot of your listeners. Sometimes they're just afraid for you because
Right. Right.
maybe they didn't have a great experience trying to
Right.
venture out on their own in some way. So
Right.
I would advise people to expand your circle of support. Really take a look at
Mm,
who you're surrounding yourself with, because our loved ones are, I mean, I feel so grateful for my family and friends, but I also recognize they're human like everybody else. And sometimes their fear for me can become my fear, but not necessarily warranted, because
right.
I'm going to be the one who's the expert in whether I'm ready and what maybe I should do next, right?
Right.
So expand your family. It doesn't have to be a family of origin. It can be a family that you choose, whether it's through friends or colleagues. So support
Right.
yourself a lot with mentorship and some wonderful friends. I have wonderful girlfriends who all the time are trying to support me in some way. If I tell them my latest idea, they're willing to listen.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
we'll brainstorm together and be supportive of each other. So I really,
Right.
as a single mom, I was a single mom, like I mentioned, for so many years where I didn't have that support. And so I really did surround myself with family and friends that lifted me up. That can make all
Yes.
the difference.
That's awesome. So cool. So he says that, and then what was your next step? Were you contemplating how you were going to exit your career? Like what happened
That's
with
right.
that?
Yeah, exactly. So what I did is I contacted all the people I knew I needed to get information from. So for me, with working with the state, that meant I needed to talk to the retirement folks. I needed to talk to
Mm,
HR. I
mm.
needed to tell my boss way ahead of time that this was something I was thinking
Oh,
about.
yeah.
To prepare, because at that point I still wasn't 100% sure, because I needed to know what the numbers were going to look
Right.
like. And then, let me tell you this, when it's meant to happen at that time, I have found this to be true for me and for my clients. Sometimes when you take that leap of faith, all of a sudden, everything's like gets thrown in your path to stop you. It's really
Mm,
interesting. I've seen it happen time and time again. So here I was just sharing with you, Kimberly, that I had to look at the numbers. Let me see what's going
right.
on. There was a real big mistake that had been made without anybody meaning to do it, but it was
Right.
still a huge mistake with regards to my teacher retirement. It would have made a
Oh,
difference of something like $68,000
what?
that was supposed to be coming my way in a separate account that they said I was not entitled to. I was entitled to 5,700, not the 72,000. Long story
Oh
short,
my
you
gosh.
have to be your own advocate. I
Yes.
I realized that nobody was vindictively trying to keep me from getting what I was entitled to after 30 years of service. None of that. But you know what I did do? I was persistent. I very kindly and respectfully asked for help from my boss and his boss's boss and his boss's boss's boss. We had to go all the way up to the top. I had to consult with attorneys for both retirement systems. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
So that delayed me, but I was okay with that. I even found out somebody else went through something similar. So I'm hoping and that person never did anything about it, Kimberly. I was like, huh? What? And so it was funny because I think at first, you know, how people, it's human nature not to want to have to move mountains, right? And so
Right.
at first I was given, and some of you may have had this experience where people are saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, there's nothing I can do. You know, the system
Right.
doesn't allow
Yeah, the
us
system.
fill in the blank."
The
I don't
system.
believe that. I think the
Yeah,
system
don't take that.
no,
The
please, y'all,
system.
please do not do that. No. What happens is they just need a good lawyer to help unlock the system.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Let's hack the system, whatever it
Yeah,
takes.
yeah, and what was
Right.
so great about my situation, and that's just why I believe it's so important to build relationships where you are.
Mm,
I didn't have to hire an attorney. These were just the attorneys that represented my side and teacher retirement. They were all lovely. They were all
right.
trying to figure out. Now, had I not pushed it, I'm sure they would have been happy to not happy, they were unhappy on my behalf, but I had to continue to ask for help. I
Right.
went all the way up to the top.
Right.
And once I got to that point, people were like, "Oh, Dawn, we're so sorry." They saw I had been with the state of Arkansas for so many years, and people were
Right.
willing to help me. It is something that's almost never done. Never do they retroactively pay an
Mm,
employee.
mm,
And they were willing to do it because I had all the paperwork to show that the mistake was not mine.
mm. That's great. And
And
this is
it
a
was
great lesson for everyone if you're about to
it's so great.
retire, right?
Yeah, because
That
guys, listen, it happens. It's human nature. So one little mistake on one
and then
little
the
form.
system
Yeah,
will get caught in the
yeah.
matrix and
There
you'll
we go. I got caught in the matrix, and once they unplugged from that matrix and knew
yes.
that this little woman was not giving
What is
up.
not yeah, well, man, what a struggle. So you deal with that.
Yep,
You talk to them, you start
yep,
working on it, you're saying, "I may" and did you give, like, a timeline far out
yes,
just for anyone listening that may find themselves in this position?
yes,
Like, how
yes.
far out did you say? 6 months? Did you say 2 months? Like, what did you say?
I'm a big believer in just giving everybody plenty of time, and this
Okay.
is why I think I was able to fight it, because I gave them 6 months
Oh,
warning,
wow. Yes, that's
because
good. So that was the runway, 6
yes.
months.
Because they had
Okay.
now the time. I didn't expect that to happen, neither did they, but
Okay.
because I was saying, "Look, I'm thinking about retiring before the end of the year."
Right.
And for the state, I knew that sometimes letting someone else start their new job in January is probably gonna be
Right.
better for HR. So, I've
Right.
hired a lot of people, so I kinda know how HR would
Right.
prefer things done. So, by giving them so much notice, we were able to
Right.
get that done. And here's the
Yes.
irony, after all that, it was actually better if I retired on September 30th,
Mm.
and that was on a Friday, so I didn't
Okay.
have to wait until January. I
Right.
retire on September 30th. That was, like I said, a Friday. That meant, Kimberly, that that Monday, which was my official first day of not going into the office, that was actually my birthday.
Oh my goodness.
My actual birthday,
So it
where I
all
turned 56,
yes.
was October 3rd, and that's
Yes.
how I got to so now my business becomes full-time business on October 3rd, my actual birthday, at
Okay.
56 years of age.
I love this story so much. So I get clients just because of my age. So I get
Yeah.
clients that are in the 50s and doing this. So this is proof to everyone that your business can start at 56. There is hope for everyone here, and I think that that's so wonderful. You're such a shining example. It's awesome.
Thank
So you
you.
do
Thank you.
that. You're 56 now. You're full time, and this is when you're off and running. Now you're doing workshops, seminars.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
out and about. You're hustling. I
Yes.
don't know if I love the word hustle, but you are
Yeah.
doing all those things to
That's
grow
right.
your business, and it's full time. And how does it feel for you in your life to be here today? We're talking about this now. How many years later? It's 2 years later from that October 3rd. And so you're coming up what on how many years? Because we're about
This
to
will
be in
be
October.
That's right. The next October 3rd is gonna be 3
Oh,
full
three
years.
full years.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
so amazing. Alicia, I was just going to tell you, Alicia said, thanks for sharing your age. So helpful for
Oh,
motivation.
yes.
It is everyone
Absolutely.
listening. I mean, it is so helpful because you
Yes.
realize it doesn't matter. You can be in your 60s, whatever. Heck, you could be in your 70s. I haven't had any clients in their 70s, but I've seen women in their 60s doing this and in their 50s. So what's cool about this is that you hedge everything by starting at the end of retirement, or maybe you don't even have a job. Maybe you've already retired. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. You're now poised and ready to go, and you have time and you can move forward with this dream. So you've been doing it, and how do you feel right now when you wake up every day and you know that you are in charge of your life, of this business?
Mhm.
You were responsible. Do you feel like you're living your dream? How do you feel every day when you get up?
I hate to even admit this because it's gonna make me sound even cheesier than I already am, but I wake up every morning so grateful, so full of joy, so excited that I am, after 31 years in the workforce, in charge of my entire day. I get to decide what I work on when. I get to decide what clients I want to work with.
Right.
I get to decide
I love that.
if I'm going to attend, like, for example, I think I was sharing with you, I had a big chamber luncheon to go to earlier today. Well, unless the position I was with was very active, maybe they wouldn't have allowed me to go to something like that and network and meet more business professionals. I have such joy that every single day I wake up when I want to, I work on what I want to. And for women listening and the men who are listening and supporting us as well, if you think being in your 50s is a disadvantage in starting anything new, absolutely not. First off, Kimberly tells us all the time that you can definitely start a business based on what your natural skill set is. And if you're
Yes.
doing that, then you're basing it on something you may have already had 20 or 30 years of
Yeah,
experience
it's
with.
true. You
So
may
I don't
have.
feel like a new business owner. I obviously am in terms of doing it completely on my own as someone in private practice, somebody who's a solo practitioner.
Hmm.
But guess what? I've been doing this work for 30, what now, 33 years.
That's
So I don't
fascinating.
feel like
Yeah.
I'm starting. I am
Right.
starting, but it's an exciting place to be. And when you're in your 50s, I think you have the added luxury that younger folks, I always say younger, because I'm never going to say I'm old and they're young. It's not happening, people. Okay. Let's just get that real clear, real quick. Because I think of my 25-year-old daughter. When I was 25 compared to 55, it was exciting to be young and have your whole life ahead of you, but a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety, a lot of what ifs. At 55 and now soon to be 58, I think I'm old enough to have all this expertise, but young enough to have the joy and energy
Mm,
to give and to do.
I love that.
And now I don't have little ones. I don't know how some women do it if they're in their 20s and 30s and they want to
Hmm.
start a business and they've got four little ones in diapers or something like that.
Right.
I
Right.
think when you're in your 50s, we've got the luxury of maybe being empty nesters, the
Right.
only
Right.
parents. Right, I'm a parent to two furry children, my two dogs that I like to say, my furry children. But other than that, I have a lot more freedom now to
Right.
travel. In fact, I travel with my husband every single week. You guys, I
Every
could
single
never have done.
week.
You know what happened, Kimberly?
Alert.
He
Every
got an amazing job, and if I was still with the state, he would be traveling Wednesday through Friday every week without me.
And
And
now you can
because
okay, y'all, this is a moment too to
seriously,
realize. Yes.
wow. Yes. Wow. We travel the entire state of Arkansas. We feel like we're living the hotel life. We are loving it. And this
Y'all are
job kind of
vagabonds.
came out of the blue, and it's his dream job too. And think about it. I would have had to ask for vacation time, and
This
I
is
couldn't
so
leave my
amazing.
office every week. Yeah.
I
And
love
I
that
get
you
to
have the
work from the hotel.
flexibility. You can
Yeah.
work from the hotel. I love
Yeah.
this. Okay, we've got some comments. So I just want to kind of, Leisha asked, do you ever have a hard time choosing your side business? I have like five that I feel passionate about, and it haunts me to start. So the question basically is if someone's got a lot of passions, do people have a hard time choosing? Yeah, I think they can have a
Yeah.
hard time choosing. I think you have to think about what your skills are, and I mean, any advice you would give is well done. But I just think it's matching up those passions and
Yes.
skills. If anyone is here and you are in that idea stage, and you're kind of going like, "What's my purpose? What I do?" I do have a free guide that you can snag right now if you want. It's free, and I don't know if you already have it, Alicia. You may. I'm going to put it in there. It's called my Ikigai guide. I don't know if y'all have heard of Ikigai. It's Ikigai. It is a Japanese term that means reason for being. So cool. It's like a Venn diagram. So people use it to just kind of figure out who they are and to dig into their real purpose. But I've created one that is for business owners so that you can kind of look at what would be my purpose as a business owner. You can start there and look at it. I do have a paid workshop you can do on your own. That's my best business idea workshop that will actually help you narrow down all those ideas and rate them. And like, hopefully, it can spit out your top ideas that would be good for you. So, I do have that as a paid workshop. But know that if you're multi passionate, they like to say that if you're multi passionate, then that's a great thing because now you have options and you have different ways that you could run the business. There's so many different business models that you can make out of a passion. I think it's going to come down to which one is actually going to mesh that Venn diagram of what you love and what actually can make money. We've got to marry those. What do you love and what can actually bring you money? So for Dawn, it wasn't that hard because she was doing what she'd already done. And I have a lot of clients that do that. They take their career and then they just turn that into business. I'm going to be very honest. The people that do that, I have found, have the most success out of the gate because they already have this like network of people in the industry. They may be able to push people to them. So I am finding that. So people like Dawn tend to have the most success out of the gate. Don't mishear me that I'm saying that you're not successful. I'm just saying, listen, I started all my four businesses with no experience for any of them. Even this coaching business. I had business experience, but I was never a coach. I was never a teacher. I was never any of that. So for whoever you are, you've got some kind of skill that you've mastered, but you've got to figure out how to package it and make it in a way that's sellable and you can make money. So I love that. We've got another question. That's a great question. Grab that Ikigai guide. I think that will just at least kickstart this process. And episode 1 of the She's Just Getting Started podcast, episode 1 is the Ikigai that talks you through that. So hopefully, Alicia, that helps you. We've got I please forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Is it Hafsa? Is that right? I hope so. I hope I'm giving you the respect that you deserve. It says, hello, would love to know if y'all advise having a job before and during setting up a new business as a recent college graduate, especially if there's not a lot of financial pressure yet. So Dawn, I'm going to let you answer that one since I answered the other one. What's your thoughts on that? If they're a new college graduate, do you recommend having a job during the setup, before the setup of the business?
That would be my advice. Yes, and thank you so much for that question. I think you probably pronounced it correctly, so I'm not going to even attempt.
Hmm. She confirmed
But
yes. Yes,
yeah,
Hafsa. Okay,
oh yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really would advise that, even if it's just something part time, just taking the pressure off yourself to not have to worry as much about finances. I find really makes a difference, because when you're starting something new, that is when you need confidence the most. It really is. And people can
Mm.
feel that. If you're trying to get hired, whether you're a service based business or you have a product to sell to someone, if you're feeling in your gut, in your skin, that you're just so nervous, and maybe it is because the bills are not getting paid, you guys, it's going to be that much harder for you to be successful. And then you might chalk that up to, oh, well, I was never meant to be a business owner anyway. That may not be true. You may just not have enough of a parachute as you take that leap of faith. There's nothing wrong with taking the time. And I saw that there was another question about age. I think someone who's maybe
Oh
26.
yeah,
Oh,
there's
you're
another
so
one.
young.
Yeah,
Right.
Callista
You
said I'm
guys, you have
26.
so much time. You have so much time. There is nothing to be anxious about. Take it from someone, like I said, who's getting ready to be 58. I look back on the things that worried me and concerned me, and so much of that does not come to pass. Without being said, we all have bills to pay. And I do think if you had a little bit of a cushion, a little bit, at least part time job, it could help take the pressure off. That doesn't mean you have to do that, but that would be my advice. Now, some people, it might be better for them if they have a little bit of a cushion, Kimberly, if they know they could go maybe 3 to 6 months because they've
Mm-hmm.
got that much saved. Maybe they got enough as a graduation present or some sort of
Mm.
inheritance to
Good
be able to
point.
do their business 100%. Give it then. You're young, college graduates, and those in their 20s and
Right.
30s. You've got the energy that I just didn't have, okay? So you could give
Yes.
175% easy and then see
Yes.
what happens. Give yourself goals every quarter, every 3 months.
Oh, I love that.
Stop and evaluate, and then make a plan.
Yes, yes, I love that. And just as a background on me, because some of you may be new to me, as I said earlier, I started my first business with a friend as a partnership when I was 27. It's when I had my first child. So I was 27. I was a sales manager at Dell Computer. So I was in high tech sales, loved it, loved my job, absolutely loved it every day. I loved Mondays. I know I'm weird, like we said, but
Okay.
okay, loved it. But a friend and I had said we have this yearning to start a business. And with that youthful energy at 27,
Mhm.
I had a newborn baby. I started a business. We were doing it on the weekends, holding shows. We had home accessories and gifts, and we would go around in Texas and do shows and stuff like that. Then a few years later, my partnership, we pulled apart from each other only because I had moved, and then she was kind of taking on home decorating, and I said, I'm taking this business online. And so I took it online in 2003 when Amazon was only well, no, they weren't only selling books. Amazon was known for selling books
Mhm.
here in the
I
USA.
remember that.
And so
Mhm.
that was, I'm a dinosaur. And so for 19 years, I ran online gift boutiques. Okay, so here's my point for all of you young guns out there is that use that youthful energy, because I don't know how I did it now looking back at my age in my 50s, but to look to seize the day. If you want to start that business on the side, do it on the weekends, and use the tips that Dawn had described earlier. You can rewind and hear what she said about that. You can go back after we're done. But I would have good time management, and I would go for it, and I would keep that income coming in from your job so you don't have the pressure, like Dawn said, and you don't feel that weight of the world on you, like if I don't make this succeed, because your business is going to evolve. Just like mine did when I started young. We had a partnership, we were doing home shows, and then a couple years in, I'm like, I'm not doing any more shows. I'm pregnant again. And it was too busy to be schlepping stuff around, and said I'm doing it all online. It was the greatest decision I made, because it allowed me to live my life the way that I wanted from my computer and still be a mom and do all that and raise my kids from home. So that's our point on that. And I love those questions. So thank y'all. Keep them coming if you have more questions for Dawn or I about how to do that. So now 2 years in, you're living your dream, you're doing your thing. What right now would you say, now that you're a couple years in, you've got your book, you've got your podcast, you're doing workshops, things are moving. I know this is hard for some people to fathom. I
Mhm.
found it hard when people would talk about the future of the business. You're like, well, I'm just trying to figure out my domain name. And I'm like trying to just get my DBA. I'm stressed. And you can't
Right.
imagine being in Dawn's position or my position, 25 years an entrepreneur. You cannot fathom that. You have to just worry about the next step. So for our people, what would you say, Dawn, is like maybe the struggles that you have at this leg of the game? Because this, new year, new challenges, right? They just
Right.
new things come up. So what are, just being frank with everybody, what are the challenges that you face even at this point where you're successful, your business is going great, you got a podcast, you got a book, you're doing a YouTube channel, all that. What are the challenges that you could just share at this stage of the game?
As a business owner, no matter what stage you're in, to Kimberly's point, because business evolves, because business is filled with, guess what? People. And people are responding to change, whether it's changes in their business or all of a sudden they're passionate about something else and they really want to pursue that. I would advise that you start with surrounding yourself with as much motivation as possible. So when you're emptying that dishwasher or taking a walk or you're in the car, listen to as many motivating podcasts, as many motivating or watch as many motivating YouTube videos,
Or
because you will
audiobooks.
hear from, or audiobooks.
Yeah, I
Oh, I
love
love books on
audiobooks.
tape, right?
Yeah.
Books on tape. I always am kind of shocked still to this day how many of the world's top millionaires and billionaires say all the time that their business today is not what it was when it started, and
Yes.
that
Yes.
sometimes they've learned the most from their failures because their failure forced them to pivot in another direction. And guess what? If they pivot in a way that they don't see failure as making a mistake, but instead seeing it as, okay, that's just not going to work right now.
Right.
If
Right.
they just take it for what it really should be and not let
Right.
it ruin their whole future.
Right.
Some of those same entrepreneurs have said that pivoting their business because they were forced to actually made their business more successful.
Mm.
So, especially for the young folks and for the folks who might be thinking, if you're in your 50s or 60s, oh, it's too late. First off,
Right.
it's never too late. The stats, as of every week, I do research, right, to keep
Okay.
up to date with trends for my clients. And do you know the average life expectancy? Because I always want to think about, the workforce, what are we looking at, how many people are retiring, when, et cetera, et cetera. The average life expectancy, if you were combine it for both men and women, right now is 84 on average. Do some people live a little longer? Absolutely. Some people maybe not so fortunate? Absolutely. But if you're 54, you're looking at another 30 years. What are you going to do with that time? If you're
Mm.
26 and you're looking at 84, don't feel like there should be a rush. What are you rushing around for? You're going to miss what's right
Yeah,
there
I
in
love that.
front of you,
Yeah.
right? And because of technology, we know this is true. We are getting to that point where people just are constantly in this frenzy. You will accomplish more when you slow down and focus on your zone of genius. Think
Love that.
about, if you're a business owner, don't give customer service, give the customer experience. Make sure
Mm.
that you're connecting and you're authentic. Build those raving fans that are coming to you. And the people
Hmm.
coming to you are the ones that are meant to come to you because they already know, like, and trust you, as they say in the business world. So just concentrate on one step at a time, and don't be afraid to throw lots of things at that wall to see what sticks for a little while. Because if you're blessed enough to have different talents, let's see what's profitable. Don't
Right.
invest too much right off the bat. Be smart with
Right.
your money,
I agree.
but don't let fear drive your decision making. And I've got a lot of free resources, so does Kimberly, on my website as well, that you can print off, download, and just, so you've got these extra
Right.
tips that you can rely on.
Yes. And it's Dr. Dawn Shop Talk. Is that your?
Yes, the website is Dr. Dawn, spelled Drdawn. Dr.
I'm
Dawn
typing
Shop
in the chat.
Talk, all
Dr.
one
Dawn
word. That's
Shop
right. shoptalk.com.
Just want to make sure I
Yes,
have it. So here's hers. And she helps
yes.
small business owners or even people that are women that are trying to work their way up in their career or build a
That's right.
fulfilling career. And you help them with their resume and things like that. So
That's exactly
Dawn is
right.
a fantastic resource. So we've got another question here. Shonda is asking, how do you handle negative comments online or reviews of your
Oh, yeah.
writing if you have any? Like, how have you, I don't know if you've had any negative
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. You
So
can't be on YouTube, you can't write a book, you can't have a podcast, you can't do anything socially. Luckily, 99% of my audience is fantastic and amazing, but you will always have that
you'll
1%.
have the haters.
So I literally, yeah, and you can't help that. I
Right.
literally say, well, there's people who like spam. So there's no accounting for taste. That's how I feel about it. Because I'm sorry, but everybody has a right to either like or not like something. I do think we've gotten to a point sometimes where people can. Thank you. Yes, girl. Yes, queen. I
Sorry,
mean,
I love these little things.
hello. I mean,
It woke everybody up. If y'all were snoozing, you are now awake.
but it's a legit question because we can
It
get
is a
our
great
feelings
question.
hurt, right? We're people just like anybody else. But I mean, I have those times where I might get my feelings hurt about something, but I always come back to center. And I realize that if someone has actually taken the time, like if I don't like something, I change the channel or I don't watch it or I don't buy that book, whatever. But it is so rare that I would ever take the time to write some nasty comment. Now, if I'm at a restaurant and the food I think could literally make someone sick, maybe I would say something. But even then, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would. So, people who would do that, don't let that affect you. It has nothing to do with you. It really says more about
Hmm.
maybe where they are in their life. So it actually
Yeah, and I
breaks my
agree with
heart a
that.
little bit if somebody does that because I just feel bad for them and hope that they can get the support they need.
I know it is sad that people spend their energy hating on other people.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
just can't I can't deal. But
No, me too.
anyways, it happens and it's a necessary consequence of putting yourself out there. So I think if everyone realizes that there are many necessary consequences in life of everything that you do, choosing a business, the consequence is you have less time for the other things that are important in your life, but you are pursuing something that fills your soul, right? And helps fulfill your purpose, right? So there's always a necessary consequence. And with social media, with YouTube, with anything, writing your book or whatever, people, obviously on my podcast as well, I get reviews a lot, which is amazing and I love it. Every now and then there's something, or people will rate it low. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm not for them. So I think that's what you have to realize too. You can't be all things to all people. You are simply not for them. And that's okay. You are not for
Right.
everybody.
That's
And
right.
they will go on their merry way eventually. They're going to go, but they may come into your life and spread a little hate. And it's okay because this is a necessary consequence
Mhm.
of having a business. You're not going to have every customer happy with you. Not everyone's going to love your stuff. Not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to get you, but that's what it is. And so you have to accept that when you get into the game. You have to accept that. Okay, here is another one from Calissa. It says, what sacrifices do you make to succeed in your own business? What sacrifices do you make? So,
Interesting.
so
Mhm.
yeah, so it's a general probably question of like
Mhm.
maybe you could think about what I can think about mine, you can think about yours, but um the sacrifices, time. I mean, definitely when I was raising my children, I was spending a lot of time working and I had to get help in the home for a little while when I had my third child for a few hours a week. So she would come 2 or 3 days a week and I would have her playing with my child so that I could work, right? And at night, sometimes I was working. For my business, I had online gift boutiques. So when you say gifts, what's the biggest buying season of the year? It's Christmas. It's, the sale after Thanksgiving. So we never could go anywhere for Christmas because Christmas Eve, I'm still getting orders and I'm trying to now fix orders that didn't get there in time. So sacrifices, any kind of family vacation or family time before Christmas, I would have to take it in January. right? And so sacrifice for my business now, it's not so much because I've got a child that's in high school and I have more time. So there's not a ton now. The other sacrifice is that, is there another opportunity you could be pursuing instead of this business? I mean, that's an opportunity cost. So you have to think about, could I have a full-time job that might make more money? That's actually a sacrifice. So you have to think about what your family needs are or what your personal situation is to assess the sacrifices. But I would say time, I would say money, and that it's prioritized maybe over some other things that I want to be doing. But the things that are really important to you in life, you will still keep those. For me, it's my faith and things that I do with that, and Bible study, and also fitness. I work out every day in the mornings. So none of that gets altered, right? Time with my husband and family and still traveling. So for you, Dawn, what do you feel like your sacrifices have been for your life situation?
I think it's a real interesting question because I
Mm-hmm.
think that's fear driven.
Mm,
When we
that's
say sacrifice, it's kind of telling me that, there's some worry about what we have to give
mm,
up.
good
As a
insight.
life, I'm going to put my life coach and psychology
Yeah, I
background
love
hat
this. Do
on
it
for a
because you're
minute.
double doctorate, right?
Let's put some of my degrees to good use. I mean, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. Why not? Why not? But in other words, for me, I changed my mindset about that. I see
I love
time,
this.
and kind of to Kimberly's point about how you figure that out. Time is a commodity like no other, right?
Right.
Even a billionaire can't buy more of it. We have the exact same amount of time. So I never saw starting my business or my work for that matter as a sacrifice. It did mean that I had to be a master of my time, and that's why I suggest looking at your week and thinking of it as 168 hours you get every single week instead of 24 hours in a day. If you took 24 and subtracted all those things I talked about, the 8 hours or so at work,
Right.
the 8 hours we're supposed to get of sleep, oh my gosh, you'd be so depressed before you even got out of bed. You'd be like, oh my gosh, I have so little time left. But you really have more than you think. So to me, it's not a sacrifice, it's a privilege. It
Mm.
just means that I have to, again, master that time management. So, for example, when you said that sacrifice, the first thing I thought of was, ooh, I have to watch one less episode on a Netflix binge because I can go there. I love me some Netflix, and Netflix knows what they're doing, y'all.
Yeah,
You
they
know how
know.
they start the next
They've got, oh
episode,
yeah, in
you
like
can
two
see it
seconds now. It used to be
right in
like
2
30
seconds.
seconds.
Right, so my husband and I are
It's
literally
like,
taking the remote. Stop, stop, stop.
right,
I so that to me, but then again, that's kind of tongue in cheek, but it
right.
really is not a sacrifice. If it feels like a sacrifice, it may be that it's either not the right business for you, or maybe you're just feeling spread a little too thin. So do a time map. Those are fabulous. You can literally create one on your own. You just do a little Excel spreadsheet. And for 1 week, just go ahead and look at how you're spending your time. If you
Right.
like highlighters, I've got every color in my office. Highlight how much are you sleeping? How much are you watching TV? How much are you working? How much are you exercising and following your passions, your hobbies? You might be surprised there may be an area or two that's really sucking up a lot of your time, and no wonder things might feel like a sacrifice because you don't have any time left. So I would challenge you to think about that. I've got lots of YouTube videos
Mm,
about that as well.
awesome.
All of my handles are at Dr. Dawn Shop Talk, so you can find us on
Oh,
YouTube,
on
the podcast,
YouTube.
all of that.
I'll put
Yep.
your two, and I do have them in the description, just so y'all know. All of
Yes.
Dr. Dawn's things are in the description, but your handle is at Dr. Dawn Shop
Uh-huh.
Talk. Okay, I'm just putting that in here
That's
for y'all.
right.
It's not the direct link, but the direct link is in the thing. So after we're done, you can
That's
hop
right.
over there. So you've got videos that talk about this
Oh, I've got
subject.
yes, lots of videos about time management, healthy boundaries, your mindset, making sure that you're not a perfectionist. Don't turn into a workaholic, y'all. I'm a recovering workaholic because I love my work,
I know. That's how
and,
I was.
and
I
I
loved
have to
it.
stop myself. Yeah, because
Yeah.
my family gets tired of seeing my computer open. I get it. So, but you have to balance your time at 6 o'clock every day. That I'm done with work. 6 to 10 is my
You're done.
personal
You
and
shut it
family
off
time.
at 6 o'clock.
Done. Done. Now,
I
I
can't
might
say
have
that
a
I've done that. I
client.
need to do that. I need to, I mean,
Oh,
I don't work. I don't sit
yes.
here and work, but I'll touch the computer or I'll go
If I
that.
have a little idea, I might jot that down on a notebook, but the computer is not open unless I'm by
Oh,
myself. My
you
husband
just
is.
jot a note down. That's a good idea. Okay, y'all hear? That's a
Oh,
good
yes.
tip. So you're
I have
off work
notes. Mhm.
and you just jot a note and put, I
Mhm.
need to do this and need to, oh, I love that.
Mhm.
Okay. Or
The
you could use
secret
a
is
notes app on your
the
phone.
notes app on your phone. Also, think about using the voice memo function. If you guys are like me and you have lots of notes and to-do lists and checklists, there is something powerful of hearing yourself talk to yourself. Now, I don't mean hearing voices. That's a whole other thing, okay? We don't want to go there. No, no, no. I mean, when I started my business, right? A little, ooh, we don't want that, people. When Kimberly was asking me, when did I know it was time? I have a voice memo from almost 4 years ago when I first started thinking about the business. Because I do some of my best thinking as I'm driving. So I'll record myself, come up with an idea. Well, I'll never get rid of that voice memo because you know what I hear? I hear myself sounding a little nervous. I hear myself sounding unsure, but excited at the idea. Could I write this book? Could I start a podcast? What would that look like? Am I too old? Am I not experienced enough in running a business? All these doubts.
Mm,
And when you hear yourself and then play it back years later, for those of you who get anxious about the future,
mm,
it's like coming out on the other side of a tunnel. Again, betting on yourself is never wrong. Surround yourself with support,
mm.
get the help you need, have
Right.
faith in yourself, a
Right.
higher power, whatever's your jam. But if you do that, then it won't feel so scary. And it won't, again, feel like a sacrifice either
I
because
love
you'll be
that.
like, no matter what happens, I've got this. I'm just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Oh, Kimberly, do I have time to tell them about this workshop that might
Yes,
help them
please,
with all
please,
of
please,
that?
please share. I know we've been
Okay,
on here a long
shameless
time
plug.
and
Shameless plug, you guys. But especially for those of you that are wanting to build this amazing personal and professional brand. Kimberly knows because I've said this before. Your brand is as people say, there's a famous quote that goes something like that your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room,
mhm,
right?
mhm, that's your
Now,
real brand. That's
that's
your
your
real
real brand.
brand.
Now,
Yeah.
we don't need to worry about if everybody likes us. Forget that. We don't have time for that. We know
Yeah.
that those are those people who like to eat spam. Nothing against spam people, but that's just my example because I don't know if I could ever eat that. But anyway, but what I mean is we're not trying to get you to worry about what people truly think about you. It's there may be little things you're doing where you're not really projecting the amazing, powerful professional person you're meant to be. So we need to think about how are you coming across and are you representing yourself and your business well? So
Mm,
I have an upcoming workshop. You can find out more right there on the website tab. You just head on over to workshops. It's coming up, you guys, October 3rd. And here's what you get. It is a workshop all about building your brand. I'm partnering with this other networking group called Win. They are amazing. You don't have to be there in person. I know not everybody can come and be part of it here in Little Rock, Arkansas. We will have a Zoom link, so everything is virtual. But then here's something special. It's part of my 21-day reboot. So all of my workshops that I offer my audience, unless it's like a big company that hires me, that's different.
mhm,
But all of my workshops for my audience is designed so that after you have the actual workshop, we spend 21 days, if you want to, it's just optional, but you get
mhm.
an invitation to a private Facebook group that starts the next day. And every day I give you a different action step to work on. And then we are there together supporting each other on our goals.
Mhm.
So that's why
Mhm.
the workshop is 21 action steps to building your professional and personal brand. So I would
Oh,
love
pull
for you
that
guys to
paper
check it
in,
out. Oh,
pull that
yes.
paper to the middle just because maybe do it, you can do it closer to you, like not to the camera. Yes, pull it back just because only part of you is in the camera, the middle section.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
perfect. So 21 action steps to building your professional and personal brand. This should be very valuable. And
Yes.
it looks like, so it's $75 to be on it and you can be
You
on the Zoom. Do you get the recording and everything as well?
You that's right. You get the recording as well as, and you would have unlimited access to that. And then on the back, which by the way, all of this is on the website, we even have a QR code. I can email this to people as a PDF and they can go there, or they can go straight to the website. But you get all the materials that we've customized to help you. And then you get those action steps. And then I am on the Facebook group every single morning with your new action step. You will get that as a PDF as well. And we will work on those together. So I record live videos that I stream right into the Facebook group. And then also I'm making comments and answering questions and giving support. It is so much fun, Kimberly. I did a similar one on healthy habits not too long ago. It's
That's
just a
so
wonderful
awesome.
way that we can all like take
Right.
what you learn. And we know 21 days helps us all take something new and make it a
Right.
habit. You can do
Right.
it for at least 3 weeks. And not everybody, you guys, can pop in there every day. That's fine. Because here's the deal. Maybe you've got an extremely busy week. No problem. Just go back in there and you can see everything that's been posted. And
Right.
we also included 2 Zoom check-ins. So the whole group can get together, and we purposely made that on Saturdays at 1 p.m. It's optional. The Zoom check-in is optional. Facebook group is there when you need it.
That's amazing. And you said October 3rd, so that's telling me that's your birthday and the anniversary of your business.
I
Am
did
I
not
remembering
even
this
plan
right?
it that way, guys. It was the only day the hotel had
And you're like, I'll
available.
do it. It's the 3-year anniversary. It's a birthday to celebrate, and we got to move forward. Um, yes, I love it. I know we've been on here a while, and I appreciate all of you who have stayed on. I hope you got out a lot of got a lot out of this session. I think it's so fun when y'all interact and we get to hear your actual questions about what you're struggling with in your business. Like you said, about our mindset, about are we in a fear-based mindset, or what is it? And how do we manage our time? And should we have a job at the same time? I always, for most people, I tend to think yes, stick with a job while you're starting your business, and you can start simple. Also, for those of you that are here that want to know just the simple steps for starting your business, I know Dawn had mentioned that she used my 16-step checklist. So I know we talked about the idea stage, the Ikigai guide, but I also have the 16-step checklist. So I'm just going to put that link in here for any of you that are starting your business. And then you've got Dawn's information, all that is here. And for your workshop, Dawn, if they're interested in that, they just go to your website, or is there a
Mhm.
certain link? Okay, so that
Yeah,
Dr. Dawn Shop Talk, which I put
literally,
in
you guys,
earlier.
on the website at the very top, you'll see workshops. You click on that and you can buy your tickets and save your spot. We are limiting the workshop to only 65 people total for the whole
Okay.
thing. So
Okay.
I would, check it out if you think you're interested as soon as you can. And I did see a question that came up, Kimberly, about
Yes.
hiring, outsourcing.
Oh, yeah, I
Yes,
missed that.
right,
Okay,
Kimberly?
let's
That
answer that
we
really
you
quick.
you
You want me to
definitely.
answer it?
Well,
Um,
I was gonna just reiterate what you've said before. Hiring help is what I mean when I say hiring help, I mean I'm outsourcing some things so I don't have to do it all. Is that what
exactly.
you mean too? Yeah.
I think
Okay, so
that's,
we would
yeah, it's
make
just
that
like
clear.
recognizing your weaknesses. Do you hire outsource areas of small child? Yes,
Mhm.
you cannot be all things to all people. You cannot be all things to all people. You cannot be all things to your business. You
Yeah.
cannot do all the things, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot do all the things. So immediately, for example, I share this a lot on my podcast and in my Grow Getters group, that when I was starting my podcast, I started trying to edit it. And I'm technical, so I thought I'm going to be able to do this. I'm kind of a nerd with stuff like that. No, I almost threw my laptop out the window. I was like, what am I doing? I don't have time to be editing a podcast. I need to be concentrating on talking and then helping clients. So you have to have discernment as a business owner, and honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. I'm not really good at this. If it's graphics you need to outsource, if it's a babysitter, maybe it's something personal that you need to outsource. Now I need to get a maid, or now I need to get someone to help, a neighbor to help carpool my kid, or I need to, whatever it is around the house, yard work. But if it's in your business and you already know, I'm not good at graphics, or I'm not good at editing a YouTube video or whatever, or I'm not good at, like, how am I supposed to do social media? Get help. And then again, for strategy, most new business owners need help with the strategies for starting and for growing that are simple yet set you up for success. That's why I have a job, because that is so important for all of you. So yes, you outsource the things you are not good at. But maybe at the beginning, just outsource a couple of things and then you'll see slowly you'll be able to afford to pay more people and you'll be able to concentrate just on your zone of genius, like Dawn mentioned earlier. So I hope that makes sense. Y'all are so awesome. This was so much fun and I loved it. Dawn will have to have you back later if there's any more topics. This has been a great interactive session and y'all can always, if you missed part of the beginning, go back and rewind. And I think it's going to be so fruitful for a lot of people. You are amazing. Your book, The Career Woman's Secret Playbook, for those of you that are trying to build your career, maybe you're young, maybe you're close to retirement, it doesn't matter. You want to get to that next level. You want to have a job and a career. I shouldn't say job, a career that is fulfilling. Then Dawn is your lady, Dr. Dawn. She will help you with this through her podcast, through her YouTube channel, through her book. Make sure y'all check it out. Y'all know that I am here to help you. My love and my passion is to help you build your business dream, even if it's a little side business that makes you $500 a month, because that's how mine started years and years ago. I was ecstatic for $500 a month. Little did I know it could grow into 2 multi-6-figure businesses at the same time. This can happen for you. Dawn is proof that you can start on the side of a full-time career and now be a full-time entrepreneur, writing a book, having a podcast, having a YouTube channel, showing up at workshops, seminars, doing one-on-one coaching, motivating people like she does. We are proof. We are just a few of the people. We're two women that have done this. You have the ability to make it happen for yourself too. And it can start tiny. There's no shame in the game, or it can start full on. It's whatever feels in alignment with who you are right now and what your season of life is right now. That is key. I've got a podcast episode on that. So if you don't already listen to the She's Just Getting Started podcast, I have some tips on your season of life because it is key. So that's it. Dawn, you are awesome. This is so much fun. I loved it. I had told Dawn I was having her on because this is my first interview session like this of a working like interactive session on a Friday. And I thought, this is going to be my litmus test to see if I do it again with others. And I'm like, now I have to. I need amazing women like you who are so smart, so inspiring, and
really, you're too kind.
Give us just what we need when we need it, right? When we need that little push, you are there. And I'm so honored to be one of the little parts of your journey. I'm so honored.
She's a big part. She's been a big part, you guys.
Well,
she is so kind and so. She's just wonderful, right?
Well,
she
that's
really
so sweet.
is. So
but you are inspiring. So I hope everyone here has an amazing weekend. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions or if you have any ideas for guests like this, for this YouTube channel, feel free to let me know, as I'm always going to be taking suggestions. And again, if you're starting your business or growing your new one, I would be honored to help you too. You can always reach out at KimberlyBrock.com. So that's it. Y'all have a great weekend. Awesome. Thank you, Dawn, so much. This was a total blast and went way longer than I expected, and I love it.
I know we had so much fun, you guys. Thank you so much.
It was a blast. Y'all have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.